Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Kovault, and this is the Coke Lab. So, in this pre-lab video, I'm going to be going over the procedure for the Coke Lab. In another video that you watched or should have watched, it went over some of the pre-lab details about, like, for example, how to set up your data table, because you need a data table before you come into lab. So, your lab notebook should be set up ready to come in, collect data, so it's all nice and neat and organized. But that was in the other video, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, please go watch that video. Okay, so procedurally, so in the Coke Lab, what you are going to do is you're going to be measuring the volumes and masses of whatever soda that you're given. So if it's Coke or Diet Coke, so you'll be assigned that in the lab. So whatever that is, you're going to use three instruments. You're going to use a 100 milliliter graduated flask, or sorry, graduated cylinder. You're also going to be using a 25 milliliter volumetric pipette. Whenever something is called volumetric, it is referring to the fact that this only measures one volume and it measures it very precisely. So there's only one graduation on this. So if you look closely, I don't know if so you can see the one line on the pipette. So that one line measures exactly 25 milliliters. So you got to be very careful about measuring with the pipette, and the pipette is probably the hardest one to use. So there'll be another video on how to pipette using your volumetric pipette. So you're going to have a 25 milliliter volumetric pipette, and last but not least, you're going to have a burette. So the burette is labeled from 50 on the bottom to 100 milliliters or 0 milliliters on the top. So this is what your burette looks like. It's got a stopcock here. Yes, start giggling, get it out of your system. So for this, there'll be another video on how to use this as well, but just to kind of point things out, this is called the stopcock. Right now that is open, so parallel is open, perpendicular is closed. So you want to make sure it's closed when you put fluid or your stuff in here. But I'm not going to go over too much of this in this video. I'll have another video where I'll go over more in a little bit more detail. You're going to have a 150 milliliter beaker, and you're going to have a 50 milliliter beaker. So what you are going to do is you're going to be collecting, you're going to be measuring, 25 milliliters of your soda with each of these devices, if you will. So this one, your graduated cylinder, your 100 milliliter graduated cylinder, your burette, your 50 milliliter burette, and your volumetric pipette, the 25 milliliter volumetric pipette. You're going to be measuring out 25 milliliters using each of these devices, and you're going to be collecting them in your beaker. So I'm going to talk about that in a moment. So you're going to be assigned Coke or Diet Coke. You're going to use both. You're going to use your burette, your graduated cylinder, and your burette to measure out the volume, 25 milliliters of each, and you're going to measure out the mass. So let me go over the procedures. So what you're going to do is you're going to first obtain 25 milliliters of your soda, Diet Coke or Coke, whatever you're assigned, in a 50 milliliter beaker. So in your 50 milliliter beaker, you're going to collect 75 mils, about 75. It doesn't have to be exact. So approximately 75 mils. And notice I'm using a 150 milliliter beaker for 75 milliliters. This is the appropriate size for that amount of substance that you are getting. So it's not too small, it's not too big. Okay, so you're gonna get 75 milliliters, approximately 75 milliliters of your soda in a 150 milliliter beaker. Second, you're going to prime your pipette and your burette. You don't need to prime or condition your 100 milliliter graduated cylinder. What do I mean by condition or prime? Well, let me start by saying with the pipette, the way we're going to condition or prime the instrument, the glassware, and we usually do this with our burettes and our pipettes. One, you wanna clean it first, right? So DI water, rinse it through so that way it's clean. But then when you prime it, what you're basically going to do is you're going to fill it with the substance that you are going to be transferring. So in this case, it could be Diet Coke or Coke. So let's say I have Diet Coke. So the way I'm going to prime this is I'm going to take my bulb. So my bulb, I'm going to put it on the top. Now the thing you don't want to do is you don't want to jam it on the top there. Then it's going to be really difficult to take off. You're going to squeeze the bulb. You're going to put it on there. And then you're going to put it in your beaker or of the soda. And then you're going to release and you're going to suck up the soda into your graduated cylinder or your volumetric pipette. So you don't want to fill it all the way up to the line. That's going to be a waste of your soda, and we don't have that much. So all you need to do is suck it up into your pipette up to about a fifth of the way up on top. And then what you can do is once you got it filled up there, you can just switch it around and you can turn it, right? So basically what you're doing is you're just coating the inside of the pipette, so that way it's ready to go. So there's a couple of things that this is doing. So this is kind of getting rid of any impurities, anything like that. So anything that's left behind is going to be your Coke or Diet Coke. So the other thing is you want to have the fluid once you've turned it inside the bulb. You've got the bulb all nice and coated. You also want to have the Coke or Diet Coke, the soda, go down past the line, maybe a few inches. You don't want to pour it out the end here. So when you're done priming it or conditioning it, you can then let it drain out the end here. So that way this is being conditioned as well. Okay, so this is going to go through. Now you'll notice that some of the fluid will stay in there. That's perfectly fine. It's meant to do that. So you don't want to blow out the fluid. So that's what we mean by priming. So you're going to do it 3 times. So after you do it the first time, you're going to do it 2 more times for a total of 3 times. Once you've primed it 3 times, you're ready to go and get 25 mils of your soda. You're going to do the same thing with the burette. Now with the burette, same idea, except you're going to fill up the burette from the top. Use a funnel, put a funnel on there, and then you're going to fill it up about 5. You want to put about 5 milliliters in there. So 5 milliliters, maybe that amount, about that high. So you're going to put about 5 milliliters in there. And then same thing, make sure this is closed before you put the 5 milliliters in there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to then turn it this way and let the fluid go down the end of your burette. And then while you're doing that, you want to turn it. Now be careful, don't let it spill out the end here, but you want to get the fluid all the way down to the lip, but without going out. And the whole time you're turning it, you're getting it coated on the inside. And when you do that again, what you're going to do is once you're done doing that, you're going to then turn the stopcock parallel so the fluid then goes through here, so you're priming the tip as well. You're going to do that 3 times, okay? So once you've done that 3 times, then you're ready to go. So before taking an initial measurement of your burette, you want to check the burette for air bubbles. So in the tip here, you want to check for air bubbles here, especially in the tip, you want to check for air bubbles and make sure there's no air bubbles. If you see an air bubble there, then what you want to do is you can fill up your burette after you've primed it. You can fill up the burette, to the top, and then what you can do is the pressure will allow that to go through. And so what you can do is just turn the stopcock 3 times really fast. So I turn it. You don't have to turn it and let it drain out. It's a waste of soda, and it's not as efficient in getting the air bubbles out. So it's stopped, it's closed, and then I can turn it like that, and then I turn it like 3 times, right? So it's going to open and close, open and close. I can do that 3 or 4 times, and it'll probably get the air bubble out. So that's how you get the air bubble out. Okay, so we've primed our instruments. Now you're going to go and mass a 50 milliliter or 100 milliliter beaker on an analytical balance. So you're going to take your 50, here's a 50, you can use 100. You're going to get the mass of your empty beaker, and you're going to go to the analytical balance room. Now, when you go to the analytical balance room, you want to use the same balance each and every time you make a measurement, because that way you get rid of any possible error or difference between the two, any balances. So use the same balance. What you're going to want to do is when you come in the lab, you're going to want to claim a balance. So we have about 15 analytical balances in the balance room. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your lab notebook. You come in. When you're ready to start the lab, you're going to claim a balance by taking your notebook and putting it on the right side of your balance, right? So 2 people can be at a balance at once. So if there's 2 notebooks already at the balance, then you can't put your notebook there. You're going to have to find another balance. So once you've claimed a balance with your notebook, your lab notebook will stay there, and then you're going to use that balance each time. Okay, so once you've got the mass of your empty beaker, you're going to write that down in the table that you made, and then you're going to use your pipette, right? So you're going to use the pipette to transfer 25 milliliters of soda to the empty beaker, okay? So it could be your pipette, your burette, or your graduate cylinder. But let's start with the pipette. So starting with the pipette, you transfer 25 milliliters of your soda to the empty beaker, and then then you're going to take the beaker with the soda in the beaker, and you're going to find the mass of both the beaker and the substance in the mass of both the beaker and the soda. Next, then when you've done that, you're going to do this 2 more times with the pipette. So you're going to get 3 different masses and three volumes. It should be all the same volume, 25 mils. And you're going to get the mass and the volume, right? So basically you're going to rinse out your beaker, rinse it out, dry it out, and then you're going to repeat with the pipette a second time and a third time. So you're going to remass your beaker each and every time you do this. So that way, because you don't know what kind of residue is left behind or lint when you dry it, or any fluid is behind, so you have to remass your empty beaker each and every time you do this experiment or do you're collecting your volume. Okay, I'll continue.